Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I am Courtney,
I'm MK.
and I almost forgot to do the intro, and then I remembered it was for me to do. How are you?
I am, starting to panic. Um,
Mhm.
because so this week it was really great. Both of my professors were like, you don't have any homework due on Tuesday. You guys have all been working so hard. We're coming up toward the end of the semester. So there's nothing due this week. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so great. I needed this break. And then I was like, oh my God, that means that my projects are coming up soon. Holy shit. So that's awful. And also, I went to a wedding expo yesterday and got super overwhelmed because I talked to seven DJs and made no decisions. But I scheduled a cake tasting. Um, and I scheduled my first dress appointment.
When is it? I need to know if I'm available for a FaceTime.
It is the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
I'm available for a FaceTime.
Okay. They're stingy. This bridal studio, I don't know 100% if I'm going to buy a dress there because
Oh,
I don't really get the vibe, the vibe there, but they were the only one at the expo, and if you signed up at expos, they have discounts and whatever. And
sure.
and they have a trunk show that day, so I'll see. I don't know what's going on. But I'm only allowed to bring 3 guests. So
I'll be a virtual guest.
yeah, so my mom and my sister and Jill are coming, but I couldn't, obviously you couldn't get here anyway. And I couldn't
Sure couldn't.
and I can't, I had to tell Dan's mom that I can't have her come. Which is frustrating. I mean, not that I necessarily need her opinion, but I want her to
But it's
feel
nice, yeah.
I want her to feel like I'm including her in it, and it's not, I like her. I am not oh, his
Right.
mom. You know what I mean? Um, but so I was talking to her and she was like, okay. She was like, no, I get that about the gown stuff, but please send me pictures all day. And I was like, okay. So I'll have one person have their phone on FaceTime with you, and one person will be using my phone to send pictures to Dan's mom.
That's what whenever I was doing, when Rachel was doing her fitting, I obviously could make it for that either because
Yeah.
she's in New Orleans. And she was doing it while I was working at the bar one day. And so I just gave Noelle my phone and had her on FaceTime with Rachel's mother-in-law. And I was
Yeah.
like, I'm just going to walk by you every now and then. And you grab me when she's trying on a dress and I'll stop and look at it and then keep working.
Yeah.
So I can totally do this not working.
Perfect. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll be great. It'll be fine. But then I'll be like, yeah, I know you only said 3 guests, but that was in the room, obviously. So
Right. Yeah. No, that's not the same. That's not the same.
yeah. But yeah, so that is, but so I've got that, and this is, I've been sick for 3 weeks on top of all of that, and so I'm just overwhelmed by existing at the current moment. But I also feel I don't have a lot of work to do because because I have no homework due this week, and I'm a very much a segmented kind of person. I'm ahead on what I need to do for school this week, for my classes that I'm teaching. So I'm I have so much free time. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. I'm gonna go into absolute panic mode this weekend, and it's gonna be fun.
You are. It's totally fine, but you are.
Great.
Well, I'm gonna throw everyone off. Happy Thanksgiving. And also yesterday was my birthday.
Yes.
So whatever.
Time is an illusion.
Nothing matters. So hopefully when you find me today, I will be enjoying my parade and then trekking over to Jersey to hang out with dogs for 3 days. But as you find me in my now time, I've been every year now since I've turned 30. This is my second year doing this. I've tried to figure out something that I wanted to kind of be my way of life, I guess.
Yeah.
For the next year to try new stuff. And so And so last year when I turned 30, that was my thing, is I wanted to try new things. I wanted to do new big things. And so like I took a trip to San Francisco, and like my mom came for half of it, but the other half was like a solo trip. And that was my first time like going out of the state by myself. And then I I started my own business and then
Yeah.
did all these crazy things. And so like, and I just kind of like did more, and like I quit a job that like I didn't have time or energy for. And it's all of these things have caused a lot of stress in my life, but for the best, for the best. And so
Yeah.
this year, because last year was wonderful but stressful, I've decided my whole plan is to be like, is find peace in the chaos. That's my mantra.
I like
I
it.
wrote a whole article about it on Medium. You can go check it out. It's $5 to be a member. But yeah, so I like got, so I was at the, obviously I was at the festival still. I mean the conference still on my birthday. And so I woke up at 1 a.m. to go to these showcases after my nap. And at 1, I went to the showcases and like spent the next 2.5 hours doing that. And at 3:30, I went back to my room and I just like sat down and like wrote this article. And I was like, this is my next year. And so
I like it. I like it.
so that's my plan. I'm gonna find peace in the midst of all the chaos that's stressing me out.
Yeah.
And so far, 24 hours in, I'm doing okay. But we'll see how long it lasts, but hopefully it lasts forever.
I love it. That's great.
So to add to my peace, could you give me a little spiritual guidance?
I can. And you know what? It's actually funny because the last like 2 months have been like really rough for both of us. And then you just said, you know, your goal is to like find peace in the chaos and to not be stressed out anymore. And not having had this conversation with you beforehand, the quote that I picked said, shit always gets harder right before the level up. Remember that.
I'm really hoping we're in that level up here.
Me too. Me
So
too. Because it has been.
We deserve it.
We do. It's been fucking, I think I'm in the shit getting harder, and then like next year will really be the level up once I have like a new job and get married and all of that fun stuff. But like, and I know that like the harder is not done because my classes are just going to get harder. Like I know that. But holy shit, this last few months has been something.
It's been a real bummer. Last few months been a real
Yeah.
bummer. So yeah, it's time to find the joy. And I felt like I was really tested today at work.
I
Real soon into this.
was really impressed because like you had some like you didn't have as many words about how your day at work was as you usually do when your day at work is as bad as today was. So I was
Yeah, I mean,
impressed.
I had like 8 different projects that my boss threw at me within an hour and a half, and I like was super overwhelmed and stressed. And by the end, I was like, I'm just gonna turn on a little Flamey Grant, little Pears, like, and just listen to some jams and
And you
sing
like
around the office.
you left work like an hour later than you wanted to because of a fight with a printer, and like
yeah,
there was not even any aggression when I talked to you about it.
yeah,
Was,
yeah.
I'm so
We
proud
did
of
have a fight with
you.
a printer. Thank you. So here we are, new year, new me, and all that jazz.
Whatever. Something.
But while I might be new year, new me, this podcast surely is not, because we continue talking about The Exorcist, season 2, episode 7. I forgot what number it was for a second. And it is titled Help Me. I read the title before I watched the episode and I was like, I don't know what's about to happen. I'm not sure what to expect.
Yeah. I read the title and I had positive, like I had hope.
I didn't. I will say that I did not have hope when I read it.
Oh, well, my problem was I spiraled a lot. Like I had hope and then I was like, oh fuck. And then I was like, oh maybe no fuck. No. 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 That was yeah.
Well, it aired November 17th, 2017. It was rated 8 out of 10, which is a little lower than the past couple. Not that much, or like right around. It's really been very average this season. Like nothing's
Yeah.
dramatically high or dramatically low. Um, Everything is the same for song, movie, and book. Nothing exciting. But on this day, I do have two facts for you. A lot of people died. I ignored all of that.
Oh,
So
okay.
just wrote that off. Mungo Man, who is the oldest human remains, was returned to Lake Mungo in
Okay.
something, I think it was south, something South Wales. I wrote the letters. I didn't write the words out.
New South Wales.
Probably. I
NS
wrote an L, but I was
NS
pretty sure it was supposed to be
oh,
in.
NSW is New South Wales, which is in
Okay.
Australia. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's New South Wales, but I wrote LSW, which is what threw me off.
Yeah, that's not a
Um,
thing.
yeah, I don't think it is. I think you're right. I don't think it is.
Okay.
And my other fact is that this is the day Harry Styles released his Behind the Album release.
Okay.
So real
What was what
2017 for you.
it was what day in November? What?
What? What'd you
What it was
say?
November. What day in November was it?
17th. 17th.
17. 17. 11,
I
17,
assume this is
17.
like ever since New York era.
Yeah.
That's what I'm guessing.
No, I'm also just trying
The
to figure
first
out
one.
who was I in November 17th, 2017.
I was a basket case. I was a month
I
out from moving to New York.
I believe that.
No,
Oh, what is this? Oh, I was at a fundraiser.
we're
It's
less of
cool.
a basket case then.
Yeah, I was at a
That's
fundraiser.
nice. That's nice for you.
Yeah.
I was stressed, but now I'm too blessed to be stressed. So never again.
Love it. Love
Yeah.
it.
We have a new director for this episode, Stephen A. Adelson. He is known for 12 Monkeys, The Chronicle Riddick, Fantastic Four, and Batman Begins. And he did like some different types of work on here. He had like
No,
camera work on one and like
I was gonna say, is it 12 Monkeys the movie or the TV show?
that's a great question. I didn't realize there were two. So I just
Yeah.
wrote down
That's
the
totally fair.
title.
Great.
But he did yeah, he did some camera work. I think he did some like writing direct like he was kind of scattered around
All
on
over the
like
place?
what his
Okay.
actual thing he was did.
Cool.
Writers are all the same: David Grimm, Melissa Clark, and Yasmin Yilmaz. And our editor is Janet Weinberg, who has been the most prominent editor so far. Our star we're talking about, not a lot of like guest stars that we talk about.
Yeah.
So is Cyrus Arnold, who plays Truck, your fave.
Truck. My fave.
And he is known for Mr. Harrigan's Phone, which is a dumb movie. But that's fine. It just came out like I think it came out last year because I think I watched it during the 31 Days of Horror last year.
Okay.
Family Switch, 8-Bit Christmas, and Zoolander 2, which I have not seen Zoolander 2.
I
I've
have
only seen
not
the
seen
first one.
I have not seen Zoolander 2 either.
So I don't know anything about it. But his birthday is January 2nd. So he is like an almost New Year's baby. And he starred in, and his first role was in Sam and Cat on Nickelodeon.
Yes. Okay.
So that's who he is. So let's do this thing. I will tell you, I started this episode and I was like, are we starting with the next morning? I should have known from the sepia tone, like that it was not a new day, but a dream state. But my brain just did not process for a minute. But I also like had just gotten home from work.
I don't know if my brain processed anything that I watched in the entire 45 minutes. It was a lot. But like
a lot.
Not a lot of plot, just a lot.
Yeah. And I'm going to do an excellent job at running this thread through, so everyone's going to keep up like super well. I'm telling you now, and your expectations are going to be really high.
Yeah, because background, for those of you who don't hear what we say before we're recording, which is all of you, I
Hopefully.
literally looked at Courtney and said, I don't know how the fuck we're gonna do this episode. I literally cannot figure it out. So I'm putting all of my faith in Courtney's hands, and I apologize if I am a complete shit show for the rest of this episode.
I'm shooting for the moon to land among the stars. So hopefully we make a little sense.
Yeah.
Um, so we start with our not next morning, as I thought at the time when I was writing my notes. And we just hear Nicole say Andy's name as he wakes up in bed alone. And he starts walking around looking for Nikki. And he like pours two coffees. And I'm like, what is happening? And I was like, oh, duh, this is like past. This is a memory. This is not a today
Yes.
thing. But it took me longer than it should have to realize that. I will admit.
I mean, I didn't know what was going on either.
Yeah, it's a lot of
I'll be honest,
confusion.
I didn't know it was a memory until Chuck was asking about his lunch. I was like, okay, got it. Not real.
Yeah, I realized when he started pouring the coffees because I also realized that we had a sepia undertone. And that's what they always use when they're in a dream state. And so I was like, oh, I get it. But it was about 10 seconds probably before you realized. So not much sooner. And yeah, so of course Chuck comes up and we realize now, obviously, this is not today because Chuck is not there.
Chuck is not there because fuck them.
Yeah, the demons. What are they doing? So he appears and he shows up with a note from Nikki and he's like, what does this mean? And he's like, and Andy's like, what are you talking about? He says, don't forget, I'll always love you. Why would I forget? And he's like, it's just your mom. She's just writing stuff. You're supposed to read it when you get to school. And he's like, but why would I forget? And like, just keeps saying and keeps pressing. And I was so sad at the moment. I was
that
like,
made me so upset because like, also like, on the one hand, like just Chuck's pure like innocence of just not understanding why somebody could forget something and like realizing that means that like Nikki was genuinely so good to the kids that like he couldn't imagine forgetting that she loved him, but also knowing that that was like her version of a suicide letter, like oh my god.
Yeah, it was rough. And we pass Chuck because he's still kind of looking for Nikki. And he passes Caleb, who's looking for his headphones. He tells him where to look. Caleb and Verity are going at it.
But also like the fact that he knows Caleb well enough to tell him exactly which pocket of which hoodie to look for. Like,
yeah.
Andy
like it's
really
clear
is
they were such
Andy was a great
parents,
dad. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then he keeps going to look for Nikki. He goes outside and he makes it all the way to the lake when he sees her walking into the water and going under. And he runs out to get her and he can't find her. And it's just like, it's so depressing. And then a search team arrives and they find her before what is the neighbor's name? I always forget his name.
Oh, Peter?
Marcus's bestie. I think it's Peter. That sounds right.
It's Peter. Yeah. Because I was trying to remember which one was his actor name and which one was his
actual name.
No, his character name. Peter. Peter is the character.
Yeah. And so he's trying to get him out of there, obviously, before he can see her, but he's too slow and he sees her dead on the ground, and he of course freaks out, and then they pull him back, they take her body away, and we see what I call lovingly the demon rock roll off of her body. And that's the rock that he took into the house with him that started all this chaos.
The fuck is he doing? Like, yeah, I'm gonna pick up a creepy rock. Like, I don't even understand what the thought or the logic is in that, because like if somebody was holding a creepy rock and then they killed themselves, I don't think I'd ever want to see that rock. Like I wouldn't want to keep it. Like it's not like let me hold this deer because it meant something to them. Like it's like get the memory of them killing themselves out of my mind. Like I don't understand.
I also don't get it. I also don't get it.
Andy asked for the demons. Like he He brought this upon himself.
Too innocent, sweet Andy. And as we go to pan out, all of the kids are there. And then we start hearing yelling, and they're still exercising him in today's time. And we hit the credits. So that intro lays out the rest of what's happening in this episode. That is how we move the rest of the episode.
It is so confusing. It's not confusing to watch. I just I don't even know how to explain it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I don't have to.
Well, I got you. I'm here for you. So we go back from the credits and we go back to Christmas Past because we just keep going back and forth. And it shows that Demon Andy is remembering these past memories.
Yeah.
And he sees all their picture taking and stuff like that. And he wakes up for real and says he couldn't stop her. And he just keeps saying it, and Tomas and Marcus know that he's not all the way taken by then. And they start asking about the evil and saying don't let it get you, don't forget about it, all this stuff. And then we go back again and we go back even farther before they have any of the kids, and we learn that Nikki also had worked in social services. I assume with Rose, but she worked in social services, and she starts talking about this one girl that she's she really needs help, and I honestly think we're the only ones that can do it. And we learn that it's Verity.
Of course.
And so we have that moment, and then we jump to her funeral. And they're all standing out there. Shelby, of course, is saying all these kind words and prayers and such. And then Andy starts to scatter the ashes, and he's struggling to do it. And so Shelby is well, I'll do it for you. And he goes to start. He just dumps it all in the garden, and Verity freaks out. And she's you've done it wrong. You're supposed to scatter. And he's I did. And she's absolutely not. And Andy, because he's a good dad, is he's no, everyone. He's there's no right or wrong way. It's fine. Everyone's fine. Everything's good. And Verity's just so upset. She tries to run off, and he chases her and holds her while she just cries.
And poor Caleb is what's happening? And Chuck just goes,
I know.
He put mom in the garden.
Which, all right, there we go. That's our kickoff for further past memories, I guess. But so in this moment, with everything happening, we transition back into present day where they're still praying. Marcus is still telling him to keep fighting and asking where it all started. He just keeps asking him. He's just tell me where it all started. And then we go back to the past. And Verity is, what does this word say? So this is clearly right after Nikki passes, because Verity's kind of taken on the role of taking care of everyone. She's doing laundry. Andy hasn't washed his sheets in a while, so she's washing his sheets. She's washing Chuck's clothes. And Andy is just super struggling. And
because she washed his sheets because it was filthy and awful, and she knew he needed her to do that because he couldn't do it himself. But also then that means that they don't smell like Nikki anymore. Which also sent me into an existential crisis, dread about what I would be, because I'm horrible at doing my laundry as a normal person, but
same.
If I ever lost Dan, I feel I don't know. I'm not a functioning person, so let's not imagine that I would function then. So
no. It's no, I would not do well. I would need someone to come do my laundry, or I wouldn't do it.
Yeah. No.
But yeah, so then and then the most heartbreaking, she asks him if Nikki said anything to her. I mean, said anything to him about it. And he just says, no, not to me. And that means that she didn't tell anyone. Her one thing was her note to Truck, I guess, which was so sad.
I think she
But
put
who's to
notes in
know? There's no
on all
way.
the kids' lunches.
Yeah. I was gonna say
Um,
I guess there's no way to know because he found her before everybody left for school to go to lunch. Like,
yeah. But also
so
like from other memories that we see in this episode, we know that like she did take medication for depression. Like it wasn't
yeah.
surprising that she was depressed, but like there there wasn't anything there wasn't any signs. And like listen, everybody wants to say things and like Rose and the bullshit that she said at the beginning of the season about him not seeing the signs and everything, like that's bullshit. Um Nobody, and like
Yeah.
this is like straight up, we're going to take a second here for like PSA and like suicide awareness. Like don't let anybody fucking tell you that you can see those signs. I have a friend who committed suicide. He literally had dinner with his family, um, did the dishes, emptied the dishwasher, wrote a note to his parents, and then went to the garage because he knew that his dad would leave first, so his dad would find him, not his mom.
Yeah.
Like just an absolute normal day, family dinner. No, literally not one person in his life like knew that anything was wrong. Um, and it's been 7 years and I like still struggle that I never saw anything, but like, what was I ever gonna see? Like,
Right.
that's not something when people are truly struggling, like the people who are like, oh, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna kill myself. Like, especially when you're young, that is usually
Attention, usually.
attention. And like, not to
Hmm.
say that their need for attention shouldn't be validated, but like, that's not the way to go about it. Most people who actually commit suicide, don't
Talk about it.
talk about it. They don't know how to ask for help, so they don't. Like, and that so no, she didn't say anything to him. She put everything she
Right.
had into those kids until she didn't have anything left to put into anybody. And that's what happens.
Exactly. And yeah, I don't know anyone personally that's like been that close, but I've been close with people who have experienced, their close friends and family who have,
Yeah.
passed away in that sense. And it's all the same story. I mean, every time. So if you are struggling with something like that, it's not your fault. And there's nothing you could have done about it. And I think that's the
Yeah.
only
And if you're
thing you can
struggling
know.
with
Like,
and if you're struggling with feeling like you want to, please don't keep it to yourself because
mhm,
like I said, the people who do end up committing suicide are the people who never asked for help and never like knew how to. And there is hope out there.
yeah. And if you don't want to talk to someone, I mean, call 911, they have there's the new mental
Oh,
health hotline.
yeah, and most places have, even if they have local like uh
Mhm.
preventative call lines, like just mental health professionals to talk to you. Um, but yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of options, even if you like are uncertain about talking to people, like you don't want to bring
Yeah.
it up in your regular daily life, which is totally fine and understandable also.
Yeah, no, because sometimes that is scarier, and it also puts a weird place, like if you pass through those feelings and then you have
Hmm.
people in your life who like never get over the fact that you said that. So like I totally get wanting to talk to
Right.
somebody you don't know.
Yeah.
But
100%.
yeah, sorry, I this episode was like really dark too, not just in the
Yeah.
demon part of it. So like I wanted to address that before I lost my mind.
Yeah. I think that's good. Because I mean, that's one thing dealing with horror is sometimes, we need to discuss things that are not necessarily directly
Well,
with what's
and I
happening,
think
but are
it's also hard because the episode that we watched of Stargate for this week from last Sunday's episode also dealt with suicide and like depression,
Mm-hmm.
and it was in a very sci-fi like not emotional way, but
Right.
it did still touch on it. So to like back to back watch those both of those episodes, I was like, I need to get that off my chest.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, everyone take care of your mental health and take care of yourselves. And
And I am gonna put the numbers in the description for this episode. I just don't know them off the top of my head right now.
yes,
So
good call. Happy Thanksgiving.
yeah. Well, no, because honestly, no, it's actually
It is the best time.
Thanksgiving is like Thanksgiving and is
Christmas.
one of the and Thanksgiving Day and Christmas Day are two of the highest like suicide rates in the world, because people who don't have those family connections, it's like the hardest time to be alive. So like yeah, no, so happy Thanksgiving. Please reach out if you need help.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll have all your resources available at the bottom of the comments notes. So we leave on the solemn note of Verity not having anything that Andy's received from Nikki, and we get this very through fair way of Marcus coming in and just keep like prompting him. It's almost like there's an arc that we just like follow into the next scene of like him prompting him to like, what is like, where did this start? What is happening? What is going on? And we land at in the past with his new sheets. So it's a little bit past that last scene now. And he's crying in the art room when Grace appears. And this is the first time he sees Grace. And he's asking who she is, and he doesn't like know what's going on, obviously. And she says that she could be his new friend. I was like, that's where everything went downhill. And she has her little hat because she said she's, gets scared sometimes. She doesn't go outside. She doesn't do any of these things. And he's like, well, maybe I could help you, because like claws inside of him.
Because he doesn't know how to deal with his own emotional baggage other than to help other people through theirs. He like, which to be fair, that's also what Nikki was doing, which is unhealthy. But he is like, oh well, Nikki's gone. I don't know what to feel. The rest of my kids are like adjusted at this point, but new basket case shows up. Let me fix it.
Yep. And so we get Grace, and then we have another brief interlude where we just hear them saying, fight it, Andy, like, don't let it get you, as we jump back into our Grace dream. And at this point, he's like, I don't know who you are. And she is like reacting to the fight at Andy, which is how you can tell that it's not just a regular past memory anymore.
Right.
And I've like, as strange as this episode is to talk about, it is like really beautifully done. Like,
that's
like,
it's
for viewers.
It's all, that's why I was like, it's all so like intertwined and connected and floating back and forth between what is real and what isn't real. And even in the dreams, you don't even know what is a memory and what is a like possession. And like, it's so beautifully done. But I was watching it and I was like, usually I can be like, okay, this is the end of a scene. This is the end of a scene. And like, these are how we're going to chunk it and talk about it. But this one, I was like, I didn't pause ever.
Right. Yeah. So you have to just watch our YouTube so you can follow our hand movements for how we,
because we're like describing it. And we're literally both like mimicking the flow of the show with our hands, because there's no chunking.
So this is a YouTube episode. Thanks, guys. So Grace is hearing this fight at Andy and then runs away. And of course, Andy goes to protect her. And so he like goes out. All of the lights are dark. It's terrifying outside of this room. And he's looking for Grace, but instead he finds Nikki. And she comes down and talks to him, and she says they're trying to tear us apart, which is what she keeps telling him whenever they're trying to get rid of her, of demon her.
Yeah.
And then we come back to today. We've brought Rose back in. And this is this is what I was saying earlier. But she is saying, she's like, what are we gonna do? Like, I have to get these kids somewhere else. Like, they can't just hang out at the island. We have to like take care of Andy. Are you gonna save him? Like, and we have a dead body. And Marcus is just like, we're gonna deal with the exorcism. Or he said, we're gonna do the exorcism first, and then we'll deal with the consequences later. And I was
Yes.
like, yes, that is the only proper move, because he's saying it's right. Like, the
He's like,
hospital is already
he's
in
like, what?
danger.
And yeah, he's like, what do we do? We call the police, and he goes somewhere and kills everyone else. Like that, we can't.
Right.
You just. And she was like, well, what about the kids who just like watched him stab someone? Well, you know what? He's gonna stab a lot more people if we don't fucking fix this.
Right. Like, go take care of them and make sure they're okay. And we'll take care of him and make sure the rest of the world is okay.
And the body will get to that. She's already dead. She can't get more dead.
Right. Like, nothing can change now. And like, who's looking for her? Harper? Harper's there. Like, it's not like
No,
they're
I mean the
almost...
cops.
Oh, well, I guess she escaped from
A
probably
facility.
the facility, yeah. So
So
maybe.
someone might come looking for her, but like maybe let's get rid of the demon before they get there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Good call, Marcus. And then as they're doing this, they're talking about everything. And they start seeing Andy. Nikki shows back up in bed. And it takes us back to the past. And
Yeah.
they're laying outside with a picnic, and everything seems so lovely and so like nice, and it's sunny. They have this fancy car. That's the first thing that seems to throw Andy off in their driveway. That, like, you can tell that he's like, why do we have this like super fancy car I've never seen? And then he asks where the kids are, and she starts being super vague, and she's just like, oh, I think I saw it out in the garden. Which at this point I didn't understand.
I didn't understand either.
I I didn't get it. And that's
I got it the second time she said it, but
yeah,
not the first time. The first time I was like,
me too.
oh, okay, like they're outside. They were like, we're outside. They were outside in the garden. We're just on a different part
Right.
of the lawn. We're gonna go inside. Like all of that made sense to me. I also didn't see the car.
Yeah.
I like
It was
looked
like a black
down and
Lamborghini or something. It was like
like
something super nice.
yeah, like I looked down and I didn't see so I didn't see the car. And so like I missed the car and the phrasing didn't catch me off guard at first. And so I was like, okay, we're just having like another memory. And he's like living in this
Yeah.
memory. I
Had I not seen the car, I would have thought it was just another memory.
yeah.
Although I didn't figure out what was wrong, I just knew it was off. And
Yeah.
so she tells him the kids are in the garden and not to worry about it. And then we come back to Andy yelling and fighting and trying to get everyone off of him so he can, be a demon. And
Yeah.
she comes back in the midst of this and puts her hands over his eyes and like brings him back to the past. Which, I'm telling you, all of the choices in
Transitions.
this episode
All
were
the
like
transitions in this
excellent.
episode were stunning.
Yeah. And so they're inside and all the stuff is decorated. And she's like, this is what you've always wanted. And he's like, okay, but how can we afford it? Like, he knows that they don't have that kind of money.
Yeah.
And
And
so
also
she's like,
they're also like his new office library fancy thing is in the boys' room.
yeah. And then he's like, where are the kids? And she's like, oh, they're just out in the garden. And then she's like, let me show you my new painting. And it's in Verity's room that is now empty,
Yeah. Yeah.
except for her stuff. And he's like, where did all her furniture go? And she's like, they're in the garden. And I was like, this isn't great. So he goes outside, and lo and behold, they're all buried in the garden. And
It's like, mom's in the garden.
yeah, just like this entire episode ties to each other. And she comes out there and she says she had to do it because they're the reason she died. And oh gosh, that was so heartbreaking. And he knows that his wife would never say that no matter how depressed she was. And that's
Yeah.
what like he already knew things were off, but that was the moment
But that's why that was the moment that I was like, oh my God, there's hope. He's gonna fight it because he knows his Nikki.
yes.
I was that moment when he like saw the bodies in the garden and he like his love for his kids and his knowing who Nikki was gonna get him out of this. I was like, oh my God, like they're actually gonna pull him out of this in this episode, and it's not gonna be 2 episodes of exorcism, and we're gonna like address who the demon actually is. And I had so much hope.
And then She takes him into another memory.
Oh,
And she says she wants to show him what the children were really like. And they're in bed, fooling around when they start hearing Caleb and Chuck arguing and yelling. And he's like, no, no, don't worry about it. And then they burst in the door and they're fighting, and she's having to tear them apart. And as soon as she gets them out of the door, she just like collapses against the wall. And she's like showing this really like exhausted and worn down side of herself.
yeah. And she's like,
And
what if we made the wrong decision? Like, what if we're not actually cut out for this?
yeah, and she just looks like so downtrodden. And then he's like, this isn't it. And he's like back to the dream, and he's fighting. And then we
Because
jump to
because
another dream.
because the thing is, the demon's not taking memories, like not creating memories. They're taking
Mm-hmm.
real memories and twisting them. So like she said that she was upset and stressed out and frustrated, but like that thinking that you're not doing enough to help these kids is different than thinking that the kids are going to ruin your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Like she's just sad today, but she's not like, this isn't what
Right.
pushed her over
And
the
also
edge.
like the kids fighting with each other and not wanting to be in the same room. Like maybe we did make a mistake. Maybe we need a bigger house, or maybe we need
Yeah.
something else, or maybe there's something that I don't know that I have to figure out on how to help them. Like maybe this is too
Yeah.
much in this moment, but like that doesn't mean
Or
that
maybe they're
doesn't
just teenage boys and it'll be over tomorrow. Like,
right. And
you know,
the thing is, when you adopt kids or foster kids and you have so much baggage, not to say like everybody has baggage, I don't mean it in a negative way, but like these kids, you don't get into the foster system without having shit go wrong in your life. Like,
right.
so like you're
Yeah.
bringing in someone who has a lot of baggage, and then you're mixing groups of kids who have a lot of baggage, and you've
Mm-hmm.
never raised a kid before. And that's overwhelming. And you're allowed to have nights where you just like, what the fuck did I do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because if you didn't, you're
Well,
not human.
right. Yeah. Um, and so we go to the Verity and Nikki dream where Verity is being like extremely mean to Nikki. And Nikki is showing that she was just like pushed around, she's pushed her edge, and she couldn't deal with it. And then we hear Marcus's voice comes through, and he and Andy just starts fighting. Like,
It's like
and
that's not how that ended.
he just keeps saying it's not how it ended. That's because like they tweak it, but then they don't show how it's resolved. They just keep like amping it up, amping it up, amping it up, and then not showing that there was a resolution every time, or like that it wasn't as bad as it seemed in that like visual, you know. And
Right. Because,
but
well,
not for
because do
nothing, we
we,
do. Yeah,
I was gonna
go
say, is
ahead.
this when we do see how it ended in that moment? Yeah.
Yeah, we jump back to the past for like very brief moment where Verity is crying while Nikki's holding her, and it shows that they really were like super close, which is what they've always said from the beginning is that Nikki and Verity were like the closest in the house. Like,
Well, because when you're a rebellious, angry teenager with like
mm-hmm.
problems, like, let me tell you, I'm sure I said shit to my mom that was awful as a teenager. But like, because my mom and I are like the same fucking person. So like, but like, and that's the thing, like Verity and Nikki, they had all the same shit.
Yeah, yeah, and
So
but then we turn to the left, and there is fake Nikki standing there, and she has a finger gun, and she just pulls the trigger, and we come out of that dream, and we're
that was a
back to the
fucking
beginning.
weird scene. That moment like didn't make sense to me. I
Wasn't
was
it?
like, the shit. The shit.
Yeah, it was like it was weird. But it just sent us back to the beginning where he's waking up again in the bed alone. He goes downstairs and closes the door, and he's like realizes what's happening because he's still in there, and he decides he's gonna just push through. And he's like, as soon as Chuck starts reading the note, he's like, oh no, and he starts to take off, and all the kids start getting in the way so that he can't go save her. And he gets there and he sees her, but this time, whenever he sees her, she turns around and looks at him and goes under the water. And he's actually the one to pull her out of the water this time, but she's still dead. And then Harper's joined them, and she says that she doesn't even look that pretty. And then they all just start repeating, I'm glad she's dead. How much more Children of the Corn can you get? Like,
Right.
I cannot. So they go to present day, and not only is this like
Well,
already
wait, and
chaotic,
when Harper showed up, was someone there was still only four of them. Who was missing when Harper appeared?
I think it was
Was
Chuck because it's like
was
present day. Mm-hmm.
right, but like Truck, that's what I was gonna say. Truck was gone. Once Harper showed up, Truck was gone, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
And so we go to present day, and Andy is just physically drowning. And so they have to like immediately unhook him.
She is like they are showing her like
Yeah.
spitting up the water, and then it's actually he is
Right.
spitting up the water.
Right. And so they unhook him, they turn him over, and this is the first moment where he turns to them and he just says, help me. Please help me. And Marcus, he just says, till the end, my friend, or Tomas. I don't remember which one said it now. I think it was Tomas, actually.
It was
It
Tomas,
says,
yeah.
till the end, my friend. And they start praying. And then Andy starts seeing weird things. No one's really like lining up as well. He's seeing all these flashbacks of like the fake past, not anything that like he knew already.
Yeah.
And then we start seeing the traditional Exorcist rot, where the demon starts like rotting through the ceiling into the walls. And it just reminds us we're still in that series, even if it's a whole new story. And then Rose shows up to talk to him because he's been knocked out for hours, it seems. And he starts coming back too when she's there. And he wakes up and he recognizes her, and it sounds like he's like back in his right head. And he asks her about the kids. She's like, everyone's fine. She's like, they all love you. She's like, how much all of us love you. And then he starts asking her to untie him. And we know it's all gone downhill from there. And he starts like yelling at her and saying this is all her fault and blaming her
for bringing the priest there and for having all this happen.
Yeah. And she, of course, leaves, and she says, she's like, you have to fix him. And they're like, we're going to need time. And she's like, I can only hold these kids for so long. Like, they're part of the system. They're going to have to, like, something's going to have to be said about it. So
yeah,
she's like, but I'll do the best I can. And then a new interesting thing is happening. He starts seeing Marcus and Tomas like demons. Kind of reminds me of the kids standing against the wall in Blair Witch Project.
Oh yeah.
When they're first just like standing facing the wall, I was like, what is happening? And but then when they turn around, they look like demons.
And when Marcus's mouth was foaming, and Tomas's eyes like got like red, I was like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Yeah. And it was crazy. And then we start seeing the glimpses again. We're seeing glimpses of the funeral, glimpses of the fake memories. And then Andy is there, but he's terrified. He has no idea what's going on. Tomas turns his head 180 degrees, like completely all the way around, and is looking at him, and he starts and so Andy's terrified, and they're like, if you want us to stop, you just have to tell it, you just have to say it, you just have to say it. And then he asks for help. This time he's asking for the demons for help, not the good guys. And at that moment, Marcus and Tomas freeze, and we get this really beautifully done 360 view of the room that just circles around them. And when we get back towards the front of them, Nikki arrives to quote unquote help him. And she grabs the holy water that's been frozen midair, and she tells him it's not too late to be saved. And she like stands in front of Tomas and Marcus and is like taking all the pain from him, even though she's the demon and causing all of the
so she's like, you can save me. Look what they're doing to me. Yeah. Look how much pain I'm in. You have to save me. You have to save me.
And she's like, you have to make your choice. And we go back to the past. And again, we wake up on the day of Nikki's death. And he already seems to have known this because at this point, all of the kids are tied up and they're all terrified of Andy now.
No,
And
they are terrified, but they're like, please don't do this. Please don't
yeah,
let this happen to us.
right.
Don't leave us here.
Yeah. And he, of course, does because he's like one mindset. This time he gets in the water, he makes it in time to save her. And that's when the demon really comes out. And
Because he picked her over the kids.
yep. And
Because she says, you saved me this time.
yeah. And she says, now what are we going to do about those kids? And he wakes up in the bed, and both Marcus and Tomas are thrown back. And he has black demon eyes, which appears like integration, but I'm hoping we're not there yet.
I think it's integration yet. Because remember, Casey had black eyes a lot when the demon was like,
oh, that's true. That's
the
true.
the black eyes are different because the black eyes are like the demon taking over the body, not integrating with it. If it was integration, he would look like himself
Have the
again.
third eye.
And the
Yeah,
third eye
you're
would be
right.
there, but he would look like himself again. This is more like how bad things were with Casey.
You're right. You're right. Yeah. So there's still hope.
And there is still hope. It's just
Today.
not today. Not today.
Yeah. So I don't have any trivia for you. Shocking. So who do you want to punch in the face?
Nikki,
Mhm. Um, yeah, so this is kind of a cop out, but there's not really anyone else who's done wrong. So I'm gonna pick Grace, which is
here's the thing.
basically the
Here's the
same.
thing. You know what? Actually, no. You can keep the demon. You keep Nikki/Grace, both of them. I'm gonna punch fucking Andy. Because Andy, this whole goddamn time, in the whole thing in the dream, even when she was showing him the fake memories, he knew that that wasn't Nikki. He knew that Nikki wouldn't sacrifice the kids. So why, when he sees the kids hog-tied on their bedroom floors
Mhm.
and knows that it's either them or Nikki, who he's already grieved, is he gonna pick Nikki? Like, that is some bullshit. And I get it. Like, I will never understand that grief. I don't know how, like, he even fought the demon as long as he did. If it was Nikki coming to him, like, I get it. But you fought for so long and never once wavered on the kids. And now this is the image that you're going to walk away from.
Yeah, that's a good answer. That's a good answer.
So you can punch the demon because the
Yeah.
demon is the correct answer. But also, what the
Mhm.
fuck, Andy?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Uh, so who's your MVP then?
Is there one?
I think so. I think so.
I mean, okay, no. Marcus and Tomas were both great. They both did their job and were wonderful and did nothing wrong and fought really hard. But because the whole episode was Andy's spiral into the possession, it felt very much like there was no MVP. And like it felt very much like this episode
Yeah.
is only the bad.
Yeah, it really felt like you were just spiraling deeper and deeper in because that's what Andy was doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so like while I know that Marcus and Tomas are the MVPs of the episode, I get it, and like Rose was fine, and
Mhm.
none of the parts of the dream were real, and the negative parts of the kids weren't real. Like I get it, but because this episode was so singularly focused on Andy's descent, there and it ended with him losing.
Yeah.
Was there an MVP? Like
Right. Everything was bad. I know.
everything was bad. So I'm gonna pick Tomas because I guess so.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't get picked enough, so that was a good choice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Rose, just to
Okay.
switch it up a bit because she's giving them the space they need to do the exorcism after she was pretty skeptical at the beginning of everything. And she's making sure that the kids are taken care of and they're okay.
Valid.
While trying to not just toss them back into the system because she knows that it's really not anyone's fault.
Yeah,
So,
very
um,
valid. Very valid.
yeah. So we'll see if I maintain that feeling. But today, that's how I feel. Um,
Fantastic.
so do you have some predictions? Have some ideas about what's going to
Um,
happen next?
the whole world is going to go to hell. Like, which usually I mean metaphorically, but honestly, like at this point, the whole show might as well be like, well, we're fucked, the demons won.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but obviously things are not looking great. My overall prediction is that I do think Andy will be saved. Like I do
I think
think
so
that
too.
that's where the season will wrap up was with them saving him and the kids being okay. Like, I don't think that they're going to kill all the children. Um,
Do you think anyone's going to not make it out because of Andy before he gets saved? Because I
um,
think so.
I do. I also so I accidentally found out one thing that I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what it means. Um, because um, there was, remember when I was so convinced that I knew the old guy from the farm and I had to figure out that he was on Once Upon a Time?
Mm-hmm.
Well, his bio on IMDb has two character names for this season.
Interesting.
And so there's something still to come with that couple, but I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what that means. It
Yeah.
with where this episode, with where this, when I first saw that, I thought it meant something. And then where the show has gone, I don't think it is connected to what my first thought was. Um, I have no idea what it means, but apparently he has another name as well. So I
Mm-hmm.
do think in the next three episodes he has to come back because there has to be some addressing the fact that that was weird on IMDb, or
Yeah,
it could just be a fucking weird thing on IMDb because sometimes that happens too.
that's
Um,
true too. So
but so
when you
like
first said that, oh God.
I have that little tiny nugget of like information that connects to absolutely nothing in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So my prediction is that they will address that question that I have that I have no reason for having other than I looked at IMDb when I shouldn't. Um, so
So,
that's my cop out prediction.
well, that makes me think. So when you first said it, I was like, oh, what if he's the integrated demon? And like that's the second name is the demon name. But I feel
Yeah.
like he's not integrated. I mean, he could be, but I feel like he's not because I feel like the first notice was Andy, and it's always someone that like has kids and like I don't know, maybe he released the demon or so I don't know. So
I
like,
don't know.
but then I thought
There's
maybe like
something.
he's a family member that's changed his name, kind of in the same vein of like Angela, because he was associated with one of the people who like killed his family, or was like a brother
That's
or
what I
something.
was thinking. I was thinking, what if he is one of those people that like has the family like, oh my God, what if he's the little boy in the well and he didn't actually die? But then we
That's like
saw
kind of scary.
that's terrifying. But then we also saw the dead body in the dream. But like
Oh
again,
right.
are Tomas's dreams
I
real? Like
think
I don't
it's
know. But like he's I think he's got to be somebody connected to one of these mysterious deaths and he survived and he's
yeah.
going to I my first thought was when he had two names that he had to be a bad guy. Like, oh, he's lying about
Yeah.
who he is, bad guy. That was my immediate thought. But I'm thinking maybe he's connected to one of these things and he's going to be the key to helping them release Andy from it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. I'm kind of feeling more that sense than the bad guy
That
sense
I'm
too.
getting that as more of a gut
Hmm.
than a bad guy because of the way he reacted to the demon lamb.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Um, yeah, I do think Andy's gonna be like saved. I don't know if they were planning on doing because I know the when they were talking about planning a third season, I don't know if they were planning on doing a third season with the same family. Like maybe they were gonna like something else was gonna happen to the family, or if it was gonna be on this island, or if they were going to do a whole new season like they did
Right.
from last one to this one. So I don't know
Yeah.
like to predict like how that's
My feeling is that it's more likely that they're going to wrap up the Andy situation, and the third
Mhm.
season was going to do the same thing where it's a whole new main case,
Yeah.
but the Catholic Church overtaking thing is still in the background, and then that's what's not going to get wrapped up. That's
Yeah,
my
I think
prediction.
that too.
That's my prediction in terms of what makes the most sense as to
Mhm.
storytelling. But I also there feels like there's way more to this mystery than I know how to handle in the next 3 episodes. But I
Yeah.
also felt that way. I also felt like I did
Mhm.
not know how we were going to wrap up what was happening with Casey and Angela in three
Yeah.
episodes either. So,
Yeah, that's
and
true. I just I can't even begin to know like
yeah,
where it's gonna go or what's gonna happen.
bonkers.
So, all right. Well, I guess that's that. If you've got any predictions, if you have any thoughts, if you've experienced a demon, maybe don't tell us that. I'll be too scared. Don't tell me that.
Yeah,
Um,
no. Um,
but like,
if you
you know,
actually like watch this on Thanksgiving, like a fucking weirdo, let us know about that too.
yeah, let us know if you're like hanging with us on the holidays, because I'll just be chilling like a villain by myself in New York. So
I'll be having 2 Thanksgiving dinners in one day.
I Noelle told me she was going grocery shopping before I came over and I could eat whatever I wanted. So I will be eating whatever she bought, whatever that happens to be.
Great.
Snacks. But yeah, so all of those things, if you want to say any and all of those things to us, you can email us deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can find us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can find me at CECloud13.
And you can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And we will see you for Sci Fi Sunday.
Bye.